Heyo, John Lee Dumas here of Entrepreneur on Fire, the #1 business podcast, and you are listening to the How to Quit Working show by Jeff Steinman, where you'll hear insights, stories, and inspiration from successful entrepreneurs who quit their job and started a business. Prepare to ignite.
This is the How to Quit Working show. Jeff Steinman believes entrepreneurship is the only true path to freedom. That's why he created the How to Quit Working show, where you'll hear stories, insights, and inspiration from lifestyle fanatics who left their soul-sucking 9-to-5 job forever. Now, here's your host, author, entrepreneur, and ultimate lifestyle fanatic, Jeff Steinman.
Hello and welcome to the How to Quit Working show. We've got some really fun stuff coming up on the show today. 2 topics that are going to be really, really amazing. The first one, Heather, the certified How to Quit Working coach, is going to be talking about value. What is your value? What are you really worth? And this is such an important topic because so many people don't understand the concept of value, and what they end up doing is undervaluing and effectively underpricing themselves and making a lot less money in business than they really could if they really understood their value and knew how to price themselves at a point that is appropriate and that really truly values what they're worth. So Heather's going to talk about value, and I'm going to be talking about a topic that I'm really passionate about, and it's really about focusing on the right things and figuring out what is the right thing to focus on, and more importantly than that, probably, what are the wrong things? What are the things that you should not be focusing on? The things that are going to waste your time, the things that are not going to move you forward, the things that are not going to get you towards your goals. So lots of great stuff. Make sure you stick around for all of that. Before we jump into that, though, don't forget to go over to the How to Quit Working group on Facebook. You can get there by going to howtoquitworking.com/group, and that just shoots you right over to Facebook, where you can just click on Join Group, and then you'll be entered into the Facebook group, and we'll approve your request right away. And the great thing about that is that then you can continue this conversation. You can actually have a 2-way conversation with other people who want the exact same things out of their life as you want out of your life, and also be able to talk to people that understand the How to Quit Working way. You know, How to Quit Working is not just a book, it's not just a podcast, it's not just YouTube videos or a website or a blog or any of these other things that are part of it. How to Quit Working has really become kind of a way of thinking. It's a whole different way of looking at your world and looking at life. And it's a way of looking at life that puts the things that you care about and the things that you truly love at the center of it. And there's a lot of people out there that just don't get it. They just don't understand what How to Quit Working is all about. And I hear from those people occasionally, but they're not the people who matter. The people who matter are you, the people who get it, the people who really know what How to Quit Working is about. And the thing that I love about what we've created here is that I don't even have to explain what it is, because I think you get it, right? Either you get it or you don't. And if you're here and you've been listening to the podcast for any length of time, you know what it's all about. So what would be better than being a part of a community of people who also share that understanding and share that passion for what How to Quit Working is all about. So go join us at howtoquitworking.com/group, and I look forward to seeing you over there in the group. Now, I want to dive first into the topic of focusing on the right stuff. And I want to talk about this because I see this a lot, and I see it done well many times, but I also see it done poorly many times. And a couple things that I want to say. The first is, I remember kind of like in grade school or high school, maybe it was like an economics class, I remember learning about the concept of opportunity cost. And the concept of opportunity cost generally, when we talk about that in the world, it's in terms of economics, and it's an important concept in economics. But I think the thing that we have to remember is that it's also very relevant and very important to consider opportunity costs when it comes to your time. Probably more important than money, because you can always get more money, but you can never get more time. So when you're spending time, right, like right now I'm spending about 25 minutes or so recording this podcast, you've got to be thinking about not only what value will come from what I'm doing, but what am I not doing because I'm doing this, right? And that's the really, really important thing, is to remember, if I'm not doing this thing, what then am I not doing? And that becomes an extremely important question, because you've got to think about time as a very finite resource. A very finite resource that you can never get more time. And in the lifestyle circles, you've probably all seen the video that I have about the lifestyle circles and the living and building and sustaining in the appropriate way to structure those circles so that you have the best life that you possibly can. And that's all about recognizing that time is your only, it's your only real asset. Right? It's your only real unreplaceable asset. So when you're spending that time, you have to be sure that you're spending it in the right way. And I want to talk kind of practically about where I see folks go really, really wrong with this. And the first thing that I see a lot is focus on that I see it done incorrectly, is focusing on way too small, too minute details. And an example of that is like that constant tweaking that we do on our websites, right? And this is easy to do. It's easy to fall into this trap of, I gotta move that little image over 3/4 of an inch, or I've got to make that color just slightly different, or I've got to make sure that this book is edited just perfectly, and I got to make sure there's no typos in this. And some of that is the mentality of believing that everything has to be perfect, and obviously we all want to put out really high quality stuff, but particularly when you are working a full-time job and starting a business, and even after you've quit working, excuse me, I'm still getting over a little bit of a cold. So even when you've quit working and you're completely in solopreneur mode and you're doing everything yourself, which is generally the way we start. We don't generally get to start off a company with a staff of 30. That would be nice, but we have to start off doing everything ourselves generally. And when you're doing that, when you're doing all of that, you're doing all of your own accounting, you're maybe doing all of your own web updates, you're doing all your social media, you're doing all of your networking, you're doing your sales, you're doing your marketing, you're actually delivering your product or service, whatever that is. That's easy to forget, and then you're doing just all the regular things that you got to do in life, right? I mean, we got to run checks to the bank. We got to go to the doctor. We got to do all these things. When you're doing all of these things, you're very, very busy, but you still have choices to make. You have a lot of choices to make as to how to spend your time. And what too often folks do is they get really caught up in that little image on the website and where should it be positioned, and should it be moved to the left? Should it be moved to the right? Should it be this color? Should it be that color? And I use that as an example because that is kind of a common thing that I see occasionally. But focusing on those tiny, tiny little things don't move the needle for you. They don't move the needle for you at all. So when you're working on something, when you're focusing on something, you've got to be really cognizant of what are the things, or what is the benefit that's going to come from this. Right now, when you look at something like positioning that image on the website, well, maybe it does look better. Maybe it's more pleasing to the eye if you fix it up, and maybe it makes the site look more professional, or whatever may be. There probably is some benefit there. But what you have to look at is back to that opportunity cost thing, right? What could you have done in that 15 minutes that you spent tweaking that image on that site? Could you have made 3 phone calls to potential prospects? Could you have sent 3 networking emails? Could you have pitched yourself for 3 speaking gigs? Excuse me. What else could you have done in that time? And it's really important to be very cognizant of that all the time. What am I doing? What good is actually coming of this? And let's just weigh those out, right? So let's take you could spend 15 minutes tweaking that image on your Facebook page, or you could spend that same 15 minutes making 3 phone calls to potential clients. Well, let's just break those down a little bit. Let's look at the image. Okay, so you spend 15 minutes tweaking that image on your Facebook page, making it look perfect, making it look all beautiful, resizing it, getting the colors all just right. And frankly, that's probably going to be more than 15 minutes. So you spend all that time doing all of that, and you have a nice, more professional looking Facebook image on your little Facebook page. Well, what's going to come of that? What is the actual direct result that's going to come of that? Well, will people perceive that Facebook page to be better, of higher quality? Well, maybe a little bit. Probably. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt on that. Yeah, probably people will perceive it a little bit better. But let's weigh that next to making those 3 client calls, those 3 prospect calls. You make those 3 calls. What are the potential results of that? Well, you could get a client. That's actually a fairly high likelihood. Or you could move a client along the continuum. Now, move a prospect along the continuum. As we talk about in the How to Quit Working Now program, I have a whole module on this, but we talk about how the relationship with an individual is not a one and done thing. It's not something that starts one day and ends the next day, or starts and ends on the same day. It's something that happens over a long period of time. In other words, you begin with someone who's never heard of you, and you end with a repeat client, right? So anytime, even if they haven't bought anything yet, what you're doing is you're moving them. Anytime you're having a touch point with them, whether they're reading a blog post or getting a phone call from you or watching a video or seeing your marketing somewhere, every time that you have a touch point with them, you're moving them further along that continuum, and eventually they reach a point on that continuum where they pull their wallet out and they give you money. Right, so those phone calls are going to do one of 2 things. They're going to move somebody potentially from that point of prior to being a customer to actually being a customer, or they're going to move them along that continuum closer to being a customer. Now, of course, they also may not be a good prospect. They may not be a qualified prospect. They may not be somebody who ever buys from you, but those are the potentials. So, that's always on the table. That's just part of doing business. You just have to recognize that and be totally okay with it. But those are the possibilities, right? The possibilities that you're going to move them closer to buying, or you're going to actually get them to buy. Now let's weigh that against tweaking that image on your Facebook page. All right, I understand there's benefit there, but you got to weigh it. So at the end of, and another way to look at it is, whatever this thing is that you're spending 15 minutes on, what if you spent 15 minutes on that thing for 2 weeks, right? So maybe it's more clear to look at it more amplified, okay? So if you spent 15 minutes on it every day for 2 weeks, what would happen? If you spent 15 minutes tweaking images on Facebook every day for 2 weeks, kind of where that would get you. That would get you kind of a lot of wasted time. Now, what if you spent 15 minutes every day for 2 weeks, each time making 3 calls to prospects? And I say 3 calls to prospects. Maybe for you, that's an hour and it's 10 calls, whatever it is. But think about the difference that would make. I mean, that's pretty significant. That's really quite significant, right? 15 minutes a day, 3 phone calls. And again, I'm not saying that you should only make 3 phone calls a day. I'm just kind of laying it out there just to do an apples to apples comparison of tweaking that image on the website versus actually doing some good, solid outreach that can help to move clients along and get them closer to paying. Because you can have all the pretty graphics on your website and your Facebook page in the world, but nothing will ever move your business forward more or faster than getting money from clients. Excuse me, getting clients to pay you money and getting people to become your clients and to become your success stories, because that is what creates a successful business, is actual clients. And we, unfortunately, it's crazy, but we tend to forget that a lot, particularly when we get into this early stage business building mode. We begin, trying to build out the business, and we really, unfortunately, kind of forget about the fact that clients are extremely important, in fact, vital. Now, I want to give you an anecdote that sort of sets this bit of this thought process out a little bit. We're now on, this is episode 143 of the How to Quit Working show. Now, probably, I haven't counted, but I've probably 120 of those have been interviews with successful entrepreneurs. Interviews with successful entrepreneurs all across the spectrum. Right, so we've had people who are in the millions, all the way down to people who have barely gotten started, haven't made much money yet. Right, so I've had conversations with people all across that spectrum on a regular basis for the past, what we've been doing the show for, I guess we're coming up on 2 years, like it's well over 18 months now. So I've had a lot of conversations with entrepreneurs all across the spectrum. And I'll tell you, there is one thing that if I knew nothing else about these folks, would predict exactly where they are on that spectrum. Not necessarily the exact amount of money that they make, but I can tell you where they're at on that spectrum based on one thing, and that's what are they focused on? What is their focus? The entrepreneurs that are at the beginning of that spectrum, in the early stage of that spectrum, are almost always focused on smaller details. The folks that are on the farther end of that spectrum are focused on bigger picture stuff. They're focused on larger conceptual stuff that makes a much bigger difference, right? So it's proof positive that if you want to be successful, you've got to change your focus away from all of these stupid, piddly little details and focus on the big picture and the things that actually matter. And I'm telling you, I see this every single day, whether it's, and one example I would give is like, kind of all these little Facebook groups that are out there for, help you grow your business, this and that. And the epidemic in those groups is the person that goes out there and says, I need to know what's the best WordPress template theme for this, or what's the best accounting software to use, little things like that. Not that they aren't important, but those details take up so much of their time and their energy. And one of the things that I've had to do is I've had to really pull back from all of that petty detail, because, and we don't talk about that in the How to Quit Working group on Facebook. We talk about larger concepts. We talk about the things that really make a difference, the things that really move the needle. I don't want a bunch of talk out there about, what's the best WordPress widget to use for this or for that, or I want to keep the conversation high level in big picture, because that is what will move you forward. And all that other detail crap, you can get all that stuff somewhere else. and that's one of the reasons that I don't participate really in any other Facebook or any other kind of online group or communities around business building, except for the How to Quit Working group, because the rest are all just focused on all those silly details that just don't make any difference. And that's why people spin and spin and spin and spin. One of the things that you see when you sort of enter an industry and build a business is you begin to network with other people that are doing the same. And you see what happens. You see that as people go along, some people keep going and some people drop off. There's people that drop out every time. People that keep moving are the people that, number one, keep evolving and changing, and number two, the people that keep focusing on the bigger picture things. So you've got to focus on the big picture things. Quit tweaking buttons and images on your website and all of that petty stuff. And I will say that as your business grows and as it gets larger, there becomes a point at which those little things, because of the sort of scale that you're now doing, those little things begin to make a bigger difference. Those little things begin to matter more because of the large amount of volume, right? So, a 0.5% traffic increase on your website can be significant if you're getting 1 million hits a month, right? But if you're just some kind of new fledgling company starting out, well, that's probably not going to make any difference. What's really going to make the difference is getting another client, right? So as you grow, and again, you've got to change and evolve your approach always. And How to Quit Working, we're kind of reaching this next level where I've got to really shake up and change the way we're doing things and looking at different things that are now important that weren't important before, right? So it's always, and that'll continue to happen, right? It continues to happen in any business. You're always reaching another level, another tier. You got to change the way that you're doing things and adjust your approach. But remember that you got to stay on that continue to keep moving along, and you've got to focus on what is important, what is the most important thing to focus on right now, and what will get you the most results. Don't worry about petty little things. Now, talk to Heather, our How to Quit Working coach, about how to really understand your value and that it's probably a whole heck of a lot more than you think it is.
Hello, How to Quit Working community. I'm feeling so blessed to be with you, and I hope that you're doing well. I am going to talk to you a little bit about worth. And the reason I want to talk about worth is recently I was with a friend of mine. She has a newer business, and we were talking about her price point and how she can determine what price she should be charging her clients. And it became very clear to me that she really had no way to establish her worth, that it was very challenging for her to ask someone for this certain amount of money. And so I got to really thinking about why was she having this challenge and how many of you probably face very similar challenges. If you have a traditional job, your job determines your worth. It's very easy. You know that your position is going to pay a certain amount of money. You expect it to pay that amount of money. At the end of the day, you get a paycheck, and you know that if you advance in position, if you get to a higher level, that you're going to get more pay. And so it's very simple for you to determine your worth. Your worth, what that company will pay for you, and you know it. It's kind of a preset, predetermined amount of money, and it's a very easy thing for you. The challenge comes into play when you start a company, because suddenly there isn't someone standing there giving you a paycheck anymore. Now you have to ask for money, and you have to be able to determine what can you ask someone for, and are you comfortable asking them for that amount of money? So there's a lot to consider when you're starting a business. You have to think about what kind of business you're going to start, what value you're going to bring to the market. You have to think about where your business is going to be established, if you're going to have it in your home or if you want an office or a storefront. You have to decide, would you like it to be an internet-based business or a physical business? There's just a gazillion different things to really think about, but pricing is really one of the most important. If you are really considering starting an organization, the two most important items for starting that company are making sure that you are bringing real value to your customers, and number two, making money. At the end of the day, Everyone has to make money in order for their business to be sustainable. And so determining that dollar amount, determining that value proposition for your customer is what is most important. Now, I was thinking a lot about pricing. And so I went on Amazon, and I just went on Amazon for about 5 minutes. I looked at the lowest priced denim jeans that they sell on Amazon. And so when I was looking at that, I found that you could buy a pair of denim jeans for $5.99. Now, $5.99 is pretty darn cheap. I don't know if I've ever bought a pair of jeans for $5.99. On the flip side, the most expensive pair of jeans was $1,041. I don't know about you, but I didn't even know they made jeans that cost over $1,000. I would never buy a pair of jeans for $1,000, but I also would never buy a pair of jeans for $5.99. And what is the difference between those two products? It's not the material. They really used more material in the $5.99 jeans than they did in the $1,000 jeans. So the material isn't really a factor. I'm guessing the labor was probably pretty similar in cost. So the labor isn't really a big factor. The biggest differentiating factor between the lower priced jeans and the higher priced jeans is simply the designer, the label that's on the jeans. Of course, the $1,000 pair of jeans had a designer label on it, but I don't know, I wouldn't pay $1,000 more for this designer pair of jeans. However, there are obviously a lot of people out there who would pay for those products, pay for those jeans, or they wouldn't create them. The difference between the jeans, as I said, is the designer. And it's the same thing with your business. The difference between your business and every other business out there is you. You are what is the contributing factor. You are what is making the difference and making the success in your company. So it's really, really important to think about that. I recently had the fun opportunity of buying a new mattress, and I was so shocked at the difference in prices. There were mattresses that we saw for $3.99, and there were mattresses that we saw for, $5,000. I think that they're even higher than $5,000. It was crazy how expensive some of the mattresses were, and it was crazy how cheap some of the mattresses were. I would never buy a mattress for $399. And to be truthful, when we were out shopping, I saw those mattresses. I didn't lay on any of those mattresses because I knew in my mind it was going to be a horrible purchase. It would be a very uncomfortable mattress, and it would really just be junk overall. And I wasn't really interested in buying that. So I didn't even consider that mattress for $399. Now, it could be a great mattress, but the very fact that it was priced so low really deterred me from making that purchase. So I think it's really important for you to consider that price makes a huge difference in the success of your business. If you're priced too low, it's going to be very challenging for you because sometimes people don't want to purchase that lower priced item. So pricing is really, really important. At the end of the day, you are really paid what you are worth. You are paid what you demand in the marketplace. And if you demand a higher price, then you're going to get that higher price. If you demand a lower price, then you're going to get that lower price. It's important for you to consider what you're really worth. You really have to be comfortable with the idea of asking for money. So if you've decided that you want to leave your traditional job and you want to leave the idea of someone handing you a paycheck and moving into the realm of having a wonderful, free, very creative space and having your own business, you have to get comfortable with the idea of asking for money. And you have to be comfortable asking for the right amount of money. People expect you to ask for money when you're in business. And if you don't get comfortable with that idea, it's going to be very difficult for you to be successful. I want to leave you with the thought that you are worth what you demand. You are worth what you ask for, and people will pay you what you ask for as long as you're bringing true value to the market and you're bringing true value to them. So go out there, quit your job, start a business, and ask for what you're worth. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon.
Was that helpful? I know it was very helpful, and if you found that to be helpful, go to howtoquitworking.com/coaching and find out how Heather can help you on your journey to quit your job and start your own business. Again, howtoquitworking.com/coaching. People do this every single day, and if I haven't proven that to you by interviewing like 120 or so successful entrepreneurs, then I don't know what is going to convince you, but I can tell you one thing that is going to make you much more likely to be successful, and that's having somebody who's been there and done that and knows how to guide you right down the path that you need to go down to be successful, help you with it, and guide you right along as you go. So go to howtoquitworking.com/coaching, find out how we can help you on your journey to quit your job and start a business. And speaking of quitting your job and starting a business, we're going to talk to another amazing entrepreneur who's done just that the very next time we have the How to Quit Working show in just a couple of days. So until then,
thanks for joining us on the How to Quit Working show. Tune in next time when we'll talk to another amazing person just like you who is now living the ultimate life of freedom and doing it on their terms. If you want to learn how to quit working and get these episodes delivered directly to you, visit howtoquitworkingshow.com.